Okay, aloha.
Aloha.
So when I was down here teaching the natural farming section, I started with Eho Mai, but since this is only quasi-natural farming, I'll just start this with this inspirational note today. So today is actually aloha, which is also called grace in English. And so the message is inside the strength of simplicity and self-knowledge, outside the beauty of acceptance and gentleness, which is mountain over fire. So this chapter encourages you to cultivate a quality of grace in your relationships and in your general way of being. In this way, you gain the power greater than any other to open the way through obstructions in your dealings with others. Good fortune is yours if you concentrate on bringing more grace to your thoughts and actions now. It is in human nature to want to use forceful ways to get what we want from others and from life. Our egos encourage us to act aggressively, to speak boldly, to imitate others, to buffalo our way through difficult situations. This false power can be momentarily satisfying to our ego, and temporary victories can be won in this way. But genuine power and lasting progress come from a different strength altogether. They come from inner strength, which is characterized by steadfast devotion to the principles of humility, simplicity, equanimity, and acceptance. By gradually letting go of the vain, bullying energy of the ego and accepting the quiet guidance of the higher power, one acquires the substance that makes ongoing good fortune a possibility. This is a time to relinquish self-important maneuvering. Instead, return to stillness and contemplate the inherent wisdom of the principles of the sage. By practicing quiet strength within and gentle acceptance without, you acquire the grace that dissolves all barriers to progress.
Mahalo.
So with this section specifically, withdraw from the desires of your ego for luxury and recognition. Sincerity and simplicity are inevitably rewarded by the sage.
Sounds like a farmer to me.
So this is the most ancient book on agriculture ever printed.
Which book is that?
I Ching.
Yeah, it's a book of self-discovery. You'll find it if you go look for it. Sincerely. But it was an ongoing question during my other series. Many people did discover it by self-study. Did everyone get the handout?
No.
No.
All right.
I wasn't really sure if that was right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so.
It's like computer looking. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Actually, might need to make more. I
It's-
didn't expect this to be.
So.
Pass it down and then I'll get
So I was invited down here today to talk about the Hawaiian moon calendar, but also kind of specifically the app I wrote. And I always get excited because I love teaching people computer science, and whether you think you can understand it or you can't, it's super easy. It's basically 1 and 0, which is the same principles I was reading to you from this book. It's based on the same 1 or 0. And so I get super excited because the basis of farming, the basis of our existence, the basis of reality is simulated via computers. So the handout I have today is a snippet of computer code that actually runs an iOS app for iPad or iPhone. And so I just decided, what's the best way I could share this? Hell, print some computer code. Because not only do we have to be in tune with nature, we also have to be in tune with the modern world. And the internet's come, it's here, apps are here, And each and every one of us could actually write software if we chose to be inside for that long. Or if you have a laptop, you could do it in your garden, outside, it's not raining. And electricity and water don't mix too well with computers, I found. But also, when I got here, ran into some technical difficulties today. My car had an electrical problem. It's parked at Kai's store. My mom drove out to rescue me to bring me here. So I made it just barely on time. And then I also got here and there's an HDMI cord. And I have a VGA. So I have another technical issue. And although I think Michelle already solved it,
Sort of, except for the cord's short, so now you have to figure out how to go over there to your computer to...
so it'll all work out. So the point being is that we cannot just rely on computers. We cannot just rely on electronics. We cannot just rely on this iOS app to pull out our phone to know what's going on with these natural cycles. So that's where I'm going to start today. Is I built this app based on natural phenomenon. I built this app based on what's happening. It's the most ancient clock we have, and the most available clock we have for short-term measurement is the moon, and that's why we call it the month. Mon, moon, same root word. 28 days in a moon cycle, 29, 30 days in a moon cycle, 30 days in our month. It's a little obscured because our thing is now based on solar calendars and the male patriarchy and all this stuff that you'll find with Roman empires trying to insert their ego into this. But if you actually follow the moon calendar, there are 13 phases per year. And if you follow a moon calendar, it will put you in perfect tune with the love of Mother Nature. So that's where I kind of wanted to start, is explaining a little bit in an analog way the basics of the Hawaiian moon calendar. So if you look at this handout, did everyone kind of get it now?
No.
No, didn't come.
It's going around. There were a fair amount of them. But basically, you'll get it, you'll see there's the Hawaiians have named each of the moon phases. And the way the Hawaiians would say, they didn't really talk about, I'll see you Saturday. That was not a concept that was in their mindset. They didn't divide it into these 7 days. They said, I will see you on Hilo moon. Or I will see you on Ole Kupau. And they said they will see you on these moon phases because everyone can get in tune. You forget what day it is, you can just look up at the sky at the correct time and resynchronize yourself back with the moon. And this is a ultimate clock for us, and it's pretty consistent assuming you can see the sky. So one of the first things I want to start with is I'm going to draw a little diagram here, which this is not to scale by any means, but this dot here is our sun. And I'll give it 8 rays. And this one here is going to be our Earth with pretty much the only important landmass we need to worry about. And this system is set up, right? What happens is every day we rotate around. This Earth spins around once a day. So it goes from, and just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to draw like we're here, okay? Because it's hard to make it rotate this direction on the board. But we're right here, and just for simplicity's sake, once a day we go around, and we call this a day, right? So the moon is out here somewhere, and the moon goes around this way, and so this is one day here, the Earth rotating every day. this out here, the moon goes around how many times, or how many days does it take the moon to do one complete circle around the Earth?
28.
28. It's right around 29 days. But from our perspective, because we're also rotating and we're also spinning around the sun and there's all these heavenly bodies moving, to our perspective, it's about 28 days. So in truly, for the moon to go around us once, the Earth once, it takes 29 days, but for us, it looks like it takes a little less than that. So this is incredibly hard to write an algorithm for because it doesn't sync up with our sun system. So sun, because we based our whole time-based system on these 24 hours, which is all sun-based, and all of our calculations and things, it's a little bit challenging to write an algorithm that can calculate our moon phase. And an algorithm's a method of, it's like solving a problem. You take a problem, you put it into a black box, and it comes out with an answer. That's an algorithm. And it's really hard to write that black box so that when I put in this day, it goes through and it comes out with the correct moon phase each time. Furthermore, if I am on this part of the planet versus that part of the planet, there is slight difference, especially when you're basing this off the sun. Because in Korea, it's already tomorrow. And so if I'm basing my time off this solar calendar and I'm saying we got the same moon phase, it's the same moon phase for everyone all over the world at the same time. But they're a day ahead, so if I'm basing my calculation based on the sun, they're getting a different moon phase over there if they use my app. So it's a big challenge. And my app is not the most sophisticated. My algorithm's actually written on the top here. And you'll see it's just super complex. It's called the Conway method, but I'll get into that more when I pull up the computer. Just to let you know, right at this point, it's challenging.
Awesome.
And also because of this difference here, there's not exactly 29 days. There's not exactly 28 days. It's some repeating infinitesimal float, which is also, it depends on the precision of your computer. Right? I can calculate this out to 64 bits, which is something like, I don't know what's 2 to the 64, anyone? There's a huge frickin' number, but it is not big enough to encapsulate nature in that number. Nature is bigger than that number. It is more precise. It is like pi. You can get half, ever closer, but never reach something. And for infinity, you can cruise through there. But, so we do an approximation. My computer will hold 2 to the 64 precision, which I didn't calculate it that far, but I could, using trigonometry and all kinds of good things. But it's a challenge to do this, to say the least. So, again, another reason why understanding this without the technology, you're going to be more accurate than even the most accurate app, although Google's library is pretty awesome, and I may integrate that in, because they do all kinds of, if you ever use Google Earth to look at the stars, they do all this crazy stuff, and they do projective geometry, which is a lot more sophisticated on that at this point. So it can be sort of done, but again, you're limited by the precision of your computer. Just 2 to the 64, which may possibly be Planck's limit, because there's 64 hexagrams in the I Ching, and you have 2 bits. Anyway, real deep philosophical things. But the main concept here is that we have this cycle, and it's going around every 29 days. So you'll notice I drew an alignment here. I have the sun, the earth, and the moon, and they're all in a direct line. Right? They're all lined up in a direct, it's not really, I tried to draw that straight, I'm a little, but they're all in a line. What phase of the moon is this?
New moon.
Dark.
So we got new moon, we got dark. This is a full moon.
Oh yeah.
Because the sun is on this side, and the sun is shining, and the sun only ever lights up half of a body. So this moon here, this side is lit up, and I'm going to shade in the dark side. Right? So the sun is shining and it's lighting up this side. And from our perspective here, we're looking at the moon, and it looks to us completely full.
Looks like it's being blocked by the earth, but it's not.
But so that's a good question, and I'll go to this really quickly. There's a few times a year, or I'm not exactly sure the period of this, that happens that the sun and they are in an exact straight line. It's not very often they're in an exact straight line because the moon kind of oscillates around us, and so does the sun, right? It goes, right now it's as far south as it's going to be on the 21st, and then it'll start moving north again. So we're oscillating a little bit back and forth just in our ways. It's really hard to illustrate this on a board. But this, and if this was in a direct straight line and we're in that exact alignment, would this be, this would be called an eclipse. Now, would this be a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse? A lunar eclipse, right? And this would look like a blood moon. It'd be kind of reddish, and it wouldn't fully disappear, but it would be that color where you see the eclipse happen. And so if this was in an exact line, this would be an eclipse. But that's rare. It's not always, because we're not always in direct alignment, but we do oscillate through that as we go back and forth. So there are a few cases of eclipses. And if the moon was here, and we were in an exact line that just this would be a solar eclipse, right? And so again, this side is illuminated. So in order for you to have a lunar eclipse, what phase does the moon have to be in? Correct, a full moon. You can't have a half moon, a quarter moon, a third of a moon to have a lunar eclipse. It has to be a full moon in order for you to experience a lunar eclipse. Now on this side here, what phase does the moon have to be in for you to have a solar eclipse? All right, I shaded in the wrong side, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I get, thanks. And that's why I, double check. That's why I use the computer. It's like, has a compiler that says this will not compile. Right, sorry, I shaded in the wrong side. So what phase does the moon have to be in for a solar eclipse? If this was a full moon on this side, from our perspective, we're looking at this moon, it is going to be completely new moon. It has to be a perfectly new moon in order for a solar eclipse to occur. So when you want to start looking at your calendar and you want to say, oh, what are possible dates for a lunar eclipse? What dates are you looking for? Every time it's a full moon, you could say, oh, maybe there's a potential for an eclipse here. Maybe there's a potential for eclipse. When it's a completely new moon, you could look and you say, oh, maybe there's a potential for a solar eclipse here. But no other time in those 29 days of rotating could it be an eclipse. It's just, it wouldn't be in perfect alignment. So those are good principles to start on. Those are the keys of, because sometimes, but oftentimes, when I'm teaching this to my students, they think, why does the moon go through phases? They think the Earth is actually obscuring the moon. Like, why can you only see half? They think the Earth is actually in the middle of this system, and it is not. The moon goes through phases because of this phenomenon as it's rotating around us, that only half is ever illuminated. And so when we look at it from our perspective, it's kind of a because how we're rotating and stuff, it's a little bit weird to bend your mind around, but only half is ever illuminated. So when you're looking at it this way, you are seeing this half lit up. when you're looking at it this way, or when you're looking at it this way, you're seeing it completely dark because you're seeing this side. When you're looking at it this way, what are you seeing?
A quarter.
Half.
What?
So this moon right here looks to us like this. This moon right here looks to us like this. This moon here looks to us like this.
Right.
This moon here.
You gotta change the top and bottom.
Yeah, I guess so. Does everyone follow this concept so far?
For the first time.
So, but even though you're only seeing part of it, you're still seeing always the same part. Because that bigger side of the moon faces us.
Means you're still alive. You're still learning.
Honey,
Yeah,
every
we
day.
never
Every
see
day.
the backside of the moon. I personally think that there's a magnetic field between the two, and then it's always magnetically facing us. But there's a lot of scientific theories out there. I tend to think a lot about the electrical universe, and electricity makes a whole bunch of sense to me.
What's Pink Floyd say?
What's what?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I haven't gotten that deep yet.
Oh, she said you're too young, Drake.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, the acid was already illegal when I was a kid.
Wouldn't you be able to see the dark side of the moon if you were on another side of the planet?
No.
No.
No, the only way you could see the dark side of the moon is if you were to leave Earth and look at it this way.
Well, what I mean is the other side of the moon. Like we see a particular formation, like say the Energizer Bunny or whatever on our side. But I thought
Unless
if
you're
you went to
listening
the
to
other
Pink
side
Floyd, right?
of the planet, you would
Dark
see
side of the moon, right?
Right.
No. So just to clarify, she was asking, would you see would the moon look different if you were on a different part of the globe? And the answer is no. It's always facing the Earth, and we're always seeing it. It does wobble slightly, but not enough where it's gonna look different. Different, like the Chinese see a rabbit because they like rabbits, and we see a cheese because we like cheese.
Some people talk about black moon Lilith. Is that in the Hawaiian moon calendar, or is it just the astrology thing with the Sanskrit people and the Western astrology people?
I'm unfamiliar with that.
Kaipacha does it.
Yeah. So I'm unfamiliar
So
with
that's
that.
not.
Yeah.
It's a planet, I think. Black moon.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Question.
Basically, the sun does not rotate, and neither does the moon. Only the Earth rotates.
Okay. So that's a great question, and let me answer that here. So for this example, we're gonna assume the sun is fixed, although it's not. We are traveling through space, and the sun is traveling through space, and we are astronauts of the highest degree, and so going anywhere else is silly because we're already headed somewhere very important.
Fasten your.
But in this, the Earth does go around once a day, and in order for the moon to always face us, the same side of the face of the moon to face us, it must rotate once every 29 days. So
Oh.
as it goes around us, it's rotating a little bit so that always the same side is facing us.
Huh.
It's not doing its own spin.
It is.
It is.
So the moon completely spins around once every 29 days. And that's an exact phase with how much it rotates around us. So because if it was not rotating and it went around us once every 28 days, we'd see the dark side of the moon. We would see the back side. If it wasn't rotating, like all of a sudden we're looking at this side of the moon because it hasn't rotated. By the time it's on this side, we'd see the back side, right? But because as it's going around, it's rotating an exact phase with its orbit of us, we always look at the same side of the moon. So That's why, to me, the electrical nature of the thing makes sense, because that side's just attracted to us. It's like two magnets always facing each other.
Do you know if other
As it
moons
spins.
of other planets do the same thing? Like Jupiter's moons, do they keep the same face forward?
I'm unaware of that. I do not know. I know our moon is abnormally large for our planet size, and also it kind of looks like a Death Star.
Does the Earth go left or right?
Does it orbit us clockwise or counterclockwise, like from a certain perspective? I unfortunately I do not know. We could figure this out though, because we have enough information that we could derive that solution. So knowing what we know here is that when this is an exact alignment, this is a full moon. What time does the moon rise with a full moon?
Sunset.
At sunset. That's the correct answer. Can a full moon rise at 10 in the morning?
No.
There's no possible way. So if you want to know if the moon is completely full when you're looking at it, if the sun is setting and the moon is rising, it's always full. That's why when you go in sunset and you're looking out over the ocean, there's a full moon rising.
Yeah.
Right? Has to be that way. That's the nature of its orbit, that's the way it's going around. It's always that case.
Haven't we seen, like, in the daytime, a moon up there in the sky that was faint?
Right, and we'll get to that here. So the next question is, what time does the new moon rise?
When?
Sunrise, right? Exactly, because in order for the sun and the moon to be in exact alignment, well, for us rotating, we look in it, to us, we observe this phenomenon called sunrise, because our planet's rotating, and we observe a phenomenon, it looks like the sun is rising to us as we spin into it, and it looks like, but the sun and the moon are in direct alignment right at that point. And so at sunrise, we see a new moon. Well, you don't see it, but that's why almost all solar eclipses, what time do they happen? Before 9 a.m., right? Before 9, 10 a.m. They have to, because that's the time sunrise and you're hitting that exact alignment. You can never have a solar eclipse in the afternoon. What time do lunar eclipses happen?
At night.
In the afternoon, right? They always happen in the afternoon. I don't believe, I may be wrong on this, because the lunar eclipse lasts longer. Lunar eclipses last about 5 hours or so, where solar eclipses are like 30 seconds because of the size of the body it's passing over. But I believe they're all in the afternoon. It's a 6 hour stretch of the afternoon. Just leave it at that approximation. So the question, so we got these two things. We got sunrise and we got sunset. And we also have, now the question was asked, sometimes we see the moon during the day. Well, let me explain one of my favorite moon phases to you. And I'm not sure which side to draw it on, actually, because I would have to do that. So the question, where does it rotate? I should have looked that up before I got here so I could be more precise in my drawings.
I think it's on light shadow passes around it, you can tell which way it is. Just look at your drawing, you can figure it out.
Okay, help me, come on. I'm tired.
There's Hawaii, and the mainland would be over to the west.
It rotates in a counterclockwise direction.
And the light comes around like this,
Wait,
so you're rotating.
it's going counterclockwise, right? Yeah, that's what I thought, because before I drew it clockwise when I was teaching it to my students, and I was like, this doesn't really work. I'm sorry, guys. But right here, between this sector and this sector of rotation, always the moon is always illuminated the same size, same side is lit up. But from our perspective right here, what we start to see is it goes from a full moon, I'm going to erase these days here, goes from a full moon, and then we start to see it
Eaten away.
yeah, start to wane. Should I draw the right side? Yeah, okay, so I'm going to start shading this in. So we start to see the moon. Just a little too much there.
It's called a prograde motion. It rotates in the same direction that the Earth does.
Awesome. Yeah, there's lots of science stuff like this, and this is like how to get true, you know, what we understand in Western science of facts and stuff. But the general concept is what I'm trying to explain here. So what happens is it's coming back to our moon phases here, but after our full moon, we go into what is called the La'au days. And these are some of my favorite days because La'au means plant. La'au Lapa'au is a plant traditional healer, plant medicine healer. And so the La'au days are times when it is best to gather plants. The phenomenon you will notice here, this is just after the full moon, is that both the sun will be rising in the morning and the moon will just be setting. What you notice is both bodies are up above you, and if you go and cut a plant during these days when both bodies are up above you, it will gush sap. When both of these, the sun and the moon are both above you, they're pulling this energy through the earth, and it's so powerful, it's actually lifting up the water. Has anyone carried a 55-gallon drum on their back before?
No.
Full?
Full. Right, just 55 gallons of water is heavy, right? And the tides change between 3 and 4 feet, I think, in Hawaii. And so they're lifting trillions of gallons of water up 3-4 feet. Like, let me see anybody here lift that much up. No, it would take you, your whole lifetime to lift that much water up. And this is happening every day. The tides are going around based on the sun and the moon. And so during these times, you'll also notice there's a high tide happening, but it's sucking it's heavy enough to pull the water up in the ocean. We can notice that phenomenon. But also check your plants. And the best time to gather plants is early in the morning. You'll always get higher sugar content, more nutrition in your plants early in the morning, because before the solar rays hit it, the plant will suck the nutrients down into its roots to keep them from getting degraded by ultraviolet light and these other bandwidths that come from our sun. So the plant naturally will hide the juices. But if you go there in the morning, the juices are in the plant and they're also being sucked out to the very tips. And people will say oftentimes during a new moon or during a full moon, their plants will grow more. Now either that's more solar light being reflected from the moon. The moon may be mystical in ways we don't understand. Or it may be this concept that the juices are being sucked up right at the right time for the plant to do its most growth. Right in those very early morning hours is when the plant grows the most. And so during this phase right here, you're getting all the juices aided by our heavenly bodies sucked into the tips to get that additional growth.
Can I just ask a question? So if you observe as well that depending on the lunar cycle that we're in, that you can take a stem and one will bend and one will snap depending upon the cycle we're in, and is that related to what you're explaining here? I mean, with that, I've noticed that the waxing or waning, there's specifically one will bend and one will snap crisp because of the water and the pull of the tidal forces. Have you seen that, and is that directly tied into that time of the cycle?
So I haven't physically observed that phenomenon, but it would lead me to believe that when the juices are in the plant, it's going to bend. When the juices are out of the plant, it's going to snap. That's like my own intuition. I don't know. Go test that, see if I'm correct on that. But that intuitively makes sense to me. So between this phase here of after our full moon and before we get to the new moon, the moon will be up during the day. This you can observe. So after what moon phase is KNF? We're almost here to we're actually coming in right in this phase right here. So you may be able to spot the moon. You know, today is probably not the best day, but the moon is actually pretty darn near the sun. It's about 360 divided by 28 degrees times 3 degrees back from it, right?
It doesn't have anything to do with the time of the year, it's not just the time of the
Time of the month.
The month.
Right, because the month is based on our moon. So during this phase up here, the moon will be available during the day. During these phases here, we will see the moon at night. So right now, it's a really good time to check out the Geminoids because they're happening. Last night, it probably happened again tonight. And the moon is not present in our sky while we can see the deal happening.
Except that it's raining.
Yeah.
Except that it's raining.
Cloudy.
Yeah.
Got to get your high altitude balloon.
Okay.
So this is the general moon rotation, what's happening here, how we go when we see the phases. I can obviously continue to fill in. So these moons here, these are half moons that we're seeing. These moons over here are, I'll keep this the correct way, these are crescent moons that we're observing. And these over here are like these, which I'm showing here, which are kind of egg-shaped.
Oh.
So these also down here will be kind of egg-shaped-ish. Yes, question?
Are those 3 plus the full, what Hawaiians call them 4 phases of the full moon, or is it split on either side of the full moon, or is it not?
Okay, that's a great question to go into right now. So we all got how this is rotating around and how we see and observe these phenomena of the phases. Now I think the next important thing is this question that was brought up of what are the names of these moons and how are the ways the Hawaiians were observing these. And I think the best way to start is what's her name?
Hey, Kai.
Kai.
Aloha.
Aloha. Kai's question on the full moon. So the Hawaiians actually observed 4 full moons. And if you look at this sheet here, sorry it's computer code, but so it's not necessarily the best guide. I will eventually pull up this other thing. I should probably bust that out.
Hello.
Okay, so if you see this one right here, and I probably should have made this array easier to read, but it's basically mapping 2 arrays. And I didn't write this cleanest code, but it's all good. I could have written a hash, right? It would have been better. Everyone knows what that is. Right. That's my point. But so where it's right here where it says excellent for planting all kinds of plants, but taro and bananas will be abundant with small corms. Seeds will be animated by the full moon.
Small food corn.
So this one right there is considered hoku. So if you flip to the front side, you'll see the moon's names, and you will see on here they're all in order, and you will see hoku. Hoku is considered the true full moon. If you go look on, your Google Calendar or whatever, and it says the full moon at this time, that is the Hoku moon. Hoku means star.
Rick, we didn't get
Yeah, we need more than a dozen more.
All right, let me.
Oh, she's on it.
I can't get in the office right now.
Oh, okay.
So I need to wait.
If this will turn on. No worries.
This will take a
technology
few
save
minutes.
us. Or you can download the app right now.
Oh yeah? What's it called?
It's called Mahina if you have iPhone. It is called Kalguna if you have Android.
Mahina. Oh, that's it. You got it.
It is a Kane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. Hawaiian fishing advice. Gives you Hawaiian
And
fishing
it does
Every
cost
day
a
it
small
gives
amount of
you-
money, but it helps me get here and fix my car, which is now currently broken.
So how many apps do we need to sell today?
No.
How much is it?
$2.99. $2.99.
Oh,
Mahina.
that's wonderful.
Mahina Hawaiian moon calendar.
Yeah,
You
it
can probably
is.
search if it doesn't
5S?
pop up for just Mahina.
What is
So
that?
just go to the App Store.
Okay. Let's see here. App Store. Oh, oh, A. Yes.
And
I
I
never
probably got to
bought
hit
any of my
source
apps.
on it.
Oh, airplane mode.
There we
Put it
go.
on
We're
airplane
on.
mode.
No, it's that we can fix.
I'm learning so much today.
The first line.
Every day,
on the
like you
bottom
said.
I love it.
Is actually the first
When you live.
the first
Right down the
page.
road, Leilani.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Today, welcome
just
to the new
just
App
since
Store.
I'm here and I love teaching computer
Go to
science, and I would
search.
love if someone wanted to learn this because
Oh,
I always
search.
program by
Search.
myself, and I'm like, come on, it doesn't,
In Mahina.
like
Mahina?
That's
hit
it.
me up. I can teach
It's
you
on
how to
iPhone,
code
right?
real like
Yes.
a day or two in code.
Here, let me tell you
So
spell it.
this is
Mahina
called an
Hawaiian
array.
moon.
Yeah, that's it.
What it is a bunch. It's a list. They're all separated. They're strings with commas between them. So it's letters or characters that are separated here, and so each one corresponds. You could say this first one is 0.
Connect to
Connect
App
to
Store.
Computer science, you always start with an
Oh,
index
you
of
got two.
0. Then the next one, Hoaka, is 1.
Right.
Kukahi is 2. Subsequently, so all these have numbers. They all correspond to this second array here
Do I just do this one?
at the bottom, which is now which goes onto the back page, and that also starts with an index of 0.
Here?
So what I do in my computer program is I say we're at phase 0, and it says, okay, grab the first one from the name array,
Is that what it is?
and it gives you Hilo. And it says grab the
Can't remember what it is.
advice from the planting advice with the index of 0, and it gives you this
Okay,
advice.
Oh yeah, I think it's already. I think it's already in there. Oh no.
You gotta
Just
sign in your
here.
Apple ID, which is usually your
Yep.
email.
You can also
Enter
go
the
reverse
password
order.
for Apple ID
I get 15 here and 16 here.
to purchase Apple
For the
ID.
description that you sent.
It's usually your
You
email.
may.
And then you'll have to do a password
Well,
after that. It's 2 steps.
Put in my.
unless I didn't print it all on the sheet.
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
That's why.
it's in the last one.
It should all be there though.
Put in your email. Right. It'll tell you yes or no.
Gotta run size and count on my things. Anyway, it's always fun chasing bugs in the
I have
digital
these all
world.
written down. I'll have to
But
go home and
should
look it
should
up.
line up.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not exactly sure, but so let me go here, and I got Xcode up here, and
Yeah, if I. Yeah, if I'm on my computer,
That's true.
will it automatically
This
go
whole
onto
row.
here?
What's that?
If I buy it on my computer, will it go? Will it be
Yeah,
on
it
here?
should.
all right.
All
Well,
your devices.
I can't solve all the problems
Link
all the time, but I try my
You'll have
best.
it on here. You'll have it on your computer. You have
'Cause
a-
I'm
you have
not-
an Apple computer?
Yeah, I have a Mac book. But I
once
don't
you
have to
purchase-
put in all the numbers. It's already in there. I buy it. Boom.
Then maybe I did shrink it down so I could fit it into this piece of paper. But the source
You
code
can
I
look
have
it
here
over
is the
here.
actual
This
source
is-
code.
This is today.
But what I am doing
My
is
name on it.
Excellent day to plant anything. I'm just gonna plant my seeds today.
compiling this product. And the nice thing is you get to run a simulator on here, so I don't have to go out and buy an iPhone 8. I can actually simulate it. So, let's see where my simulator's at. Oh look, it's booting, just like your phone.
Okay. So what
Even
would,
the computer, just like, it's just digital. Come on, hurry up, right?
so you just look up Melina, right?
Right?
Melina?
Melina? No, Mahina.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
The name
Mahina.
of the app?
Mahina.
I don't know, they got
Okay,
faster
yes.
processors these days. Oh, there we go.
Mahina.
Got it. Mahina. All right, I'll load that when I get home. I'll have all those numbers.
Turn the volume up to 11. Yeah, I don't need internet actually, it's all offline. Oh, there we go, look at that. Oh, look at that, it got this little booting thing. Yeah, wasn't that cool?
Mahina.
Some stage of geometry to stare you into that before you get started. And you're like, come on. next.
Sublimity by natural farming products.
Actually, that's the geometry that turned me all onto this stuff.
There it is.
So here we go. We have now booted our app for today.
Oh, you got it right there.
So if you got this on your phone, you will see the same thing. Doesn't come up. I don't know. Play.
For iPad.
I got it.
You need an iPhone?
You might want to. So on your filter, search for iPhone apps where it says at the top. Because I actually only wrote this for iPhone, but it'll run on your iPad just fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it
Here's
doesn't
what
show
looks-
up, it's
Here's
because.
what it looks like, sir.
What are we looking at?
That's Mahina. Mahina.
Oh, I have it on my iPad, but I'm not seeing it.
It should link to your iPhone. Are they connected? You only have to buy it once.
Yeah, exactly. So the icon looks like here in my assets folder. So this is where you keep all your images and assets, and it's nice and fun. But the icon looks like this. So if you see that icon, you found the right one.
Oh, this is different.
And Apple makes you make many sizes of these.
Huh.
But that is what it looks like, and this is exactly from my source code here. But we'll go back to the simulator here. So this is today. So what I'm gonna do is that the app works. You can actually scroll sideways and back and forth. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll right now, and so instead of in fact, so instead of starting with the so instead of starting with the full moon, I'm gonna start here with the new moon. And so this is Hilo. This is our new moon. You can see it's completely black. This is our new moon here. And so you can see the planting advice here is excellent day to plant all varieties of plants except for bananas. And the Hawaiian new moon phase starts the new lunar calendar sequence. So if you are tuned in and you want to think of this not only in plants, but you want to think on like a spiritual level, this is kind of your new reset of you're gonna start with your new goals, your new things. This is a time to really think about what do I want to accomplish in this next month, this next moon cycle as it goes through. This is your time to do it, and it's an excellent time to plant things, right? So you're planting new ideas in the garden of your mind and your microorganism, microflora, and you are getting down with the thing. And I also include the fishing advice, although largely I'm going to ignore that today, just because mostly plant aloha, it's not fish aloha. Well, it could be. Yeah, next year.
Fish aloha.
Oh, we're going to have poke every day. Yeah. Okay, so this is our new thing. This is what you're up to. And so, except for bananas, why not bananas? I don't exactly know. The information, I should always probably start with where did I learn this? And a lot of it I learned from Auntie Kale Nu'uhiva. She used to publish a Hawaiian moon calendar, what do you call it, newsletter. And once a month she would talk about each phase. And more than that, it was about each of the 13 complete moon cycles has its own meaning in Hawaiian. The one we were just in is the one where the sugar cane would tassel. And you'll also notice the rain comes down and it looks like these spotlights of rain coming down, if you notice that over the ocean. And so there's whole mo'olelo and stuff with that I'm not entirely 100% versed on, but the more I learn it, the more I want to, and I actually want to integrate those names and meanings into this app as well. We're obviously in the wet season. It's makahiki. And right now is also a time, don't go swimming in river mouths. Tends to be rainy, corpses wash out, tiger sharks come in. So that's the mo'olelo of this time and this space for this moon phase we are just completing. I happen to know this one because it stuck with me the most because I'm like, remember the tiger sharks. Want someone to remember it, it's like sharks. Right, they're really not that scary. We're more likely to die from, I'm not going to say it.
Drake, do you still have access to this auntie's newsletters? Are they compiled somewhere?
Luckily, the government, Google, archives everything I've ever done on the internet, and I know they still have them. So I can go back and pull up her old newsletters, but I'm not claiming to be on her level of this. This is just a simple understanding of how you can relate to planting with this.
I'm just hoping that somewhere it was all saved.
She was also sponsored by Bishop Museum. So if you search that way, that's who sponsored her with that project. So we're starting with Hilo with our new moon phase. It's a great time for planting. So I'm going to go through a few of these just relatively quickly just to kind of see. So as we're scrolling, the next phase is Huaka. If you're following down on your paper there. And I'll just read the the planting advice. Today is a promising day for planting many varieties of plants, especially uala and tuber. So notice new moon, small things, we're getting into tubers. Okay, so new moon rising, small moon underground things. Again, we're at kukahi. This is the next phase. Ku means to stand firm and upright. Kahi is one. It's the first moon phase of standing firm and upright. And it also, again, because it's a small moon, you see small sliver, it's talking about sweet potatoes. But it's also a good time for upright things, such as trees, because this shape indicates this upright, this shape of a tree. You want it to be firm, you want it to be upright. So again, you're looking at the moon shape to understand the nature of what's happening.
So this correlates to the back, just kind of the first one is the first one. Is that how that works?
Right. And I kind of gave it to you this way in a subtle hope so you buy the app to get a little bit more information. But the data's there, it's just cleaner in the app. It puts it together for you. And you get a picture and today's date, and you support me. But as we continue to the next one, we got Kulua. So I'm going to write this over here just for us for clarity, because I'm also going to teach you some Hawaiian language. Where'd my pen go?
Yes.
No, I got to get the pen for writing on the board. I put it somewhere.
Pocket?
Oh, too many pockets. Oh man, you should have seen me in Korea. I had jacket and this and that, and I'm like, where's my subway card? Too many pockets. Okay, so one, kahi. And usually it's e kahi. Two, E lua. 3, E kolu.
Wait a minute, where are we?
4, E ha, but there's no E ha. So we'll just leave 4 off, but it continues counting. So kahi 1, lua 2, kolu is 3. So this guy here, again, we're going through the phase. We're getting a little bit more moon as we're coming into our new moon. And this moon is coming up. Lua, because it's 2, means to stand in pairs. So when you plant kalo, you're going to get usually plant your mana kalo, because it has 2 this time, right? Again, also because it's small, you're also underground things. Your uala is good. But this moon, however, starts to look like a banana. So you get Mai'a, the Hawaiian banana. And trees again because it's still upright. But kulua means to stand in pairs. So cruising further. Oh wait, before I get to this one, what do you think the next phase is going to be? If this one is kulua, what's the next phase going to be?
Kukolo.
Kukolu, right? Kukolu. So we go to the next one here. We got kukolu. So this one, planting 3. And this is my favorite way to plant kalo. And if I planted all my kalo on this day, I'd be rich. Sure that I am. I'm rich. I promise you. But this one here, because what I do is instead of planting kalo all in one line at like a certain space to get density, I plant 3 kalo in each kekipi. So I make I mound up the dirt into this mound like this, and then I make a divot in the middle. So I go down to where the earth was, and then I plant 3 kalo inside of that kekipi. And it's in this like volcano-like shape. And what happens is those 3 kalo, they like each other. If you look at the way kalo grows, it has one and then it'll put an oha off, and it'll put an oha really close. And so the kalo leaf, your makua, the parent, is still there with its leaves waving in the wind, lele, in the wind, and then has the other oha coming next to it, and these guys wave. And so when they're close to each other like that, they don't mind. If I take 2 kalo and I put them at this spacing, they're gonna grow up, and this one's gonna go like this, and this one's gonna go like that, and they're just gonna bang their leaves against each other, and they're gonna be super upset. So it's better to take my kalo, and instead of just planting, out like that, plant them all in one mound, in one kekipi, in kukolu, and I put them all together, and I can get higher density by planting 3 here, and then going 1 muku, or what measurement is this? 1 drake away, and planting. So I plant 1 right here, and I plant my next one right here of 3 and 3, and now I got 3 and 3. I got 6 planted right here in this small zone where I couldn't. Had I planted them like that, I couldn't have even got 6 that close to each other. And so I can get higher density by planting, and I should plant all on this day because that's the way I plant. I have 3 stand together in each kekipi. And there's some monster kalo, although the last one rotted out because when mulched too late in the season, and no mulch your kalo in the last month or 2 can cause rot. Mulch it early and then let the weeds come, and then just you can go inside and you can find massive corms, and you can be like, oh, the honey's gonna love me. So after we went through those 3 phases, so I'm gonna go over here and show you a little bit here. So we went through those 3 phases. We started with nothing. We went to 1 strip. We went to that. We went to a little bit fatter. What we are about to hit here is this one is called kupao, which who knows what pao means? Something everyone learns fast, huh? Hey, pao. Right? Pao is one word we all know. Pao means to stop. So today, or on the 23rd, right, Christmas Eve, gonna be kupao. Already, holidays over. So it's the final evening that uala and kalo can be planted, and expect to go firm and upright cool. And so I want you to look a lot at this moon. What you see? It's what you call quarter moon, right?
What is uwala?
Uala is sweet potato. Yeah. So I put most of the Hawaiian names up here so you guys, you know, easy to learn. U is to descend. A is like the heavenly influence, and La is the light. So Uala brings the heavenly light into your food. Uala. That's just my interpretation. Don't be like, oh, Drake said it's this. Like, we'll look it up on Vihe Vihe. Every Hawaiian word has 1,000 different meanings. I tend to go with the most simple Punana Leo explanation, which is a preschool understanding. There's plenty kauna. So you want to plant them when the moon, not on these phases, because you can be up at like 2 in the morning. I don't think so. This phase would be like early in the morning. Probably not. I'm not exactly sure on what time to plant. I know when it comes to full moon, that's the time to be out planting is actually under the moon. But these early phases, I'm not exactly sure. No one's ever been like, hey boy, we'll teach you this. No. They'd be like, you figure it out. You try. And that's how most Hawaiian stuff he learned. So this is the last thing. So I want you to look at this moon phase. Look at it real nice. What you notice? Don't tell me. Keep it in your head. Now I can go to the next one. Boom, you saw something change, right? This now, what you're looking at is an ole moon. Anyone knows what ole is? Anyone told you when you like peeing inside the ocean or everyone's swimming, everyone's like, ah, ole!
Does it be yellow?
No.
Stop, yeah? Stop, pow. Like it's the pow. Pow is to like stop and you're done. Ole is like, bro, don't do that.
No.
So now we enter the ole days, okay? So we came through, we went through these nice curvy moons. So I can scroll back and forth real fast just so you can get a nice look at the difference between them. Kupao versus... Oh, shoot, sorry. Okay. Technology. Kupao, ole kukahi.
Ole kukahi. Okay.
So, you notice what's happening is the thing is coming like on half moon. But furthermore, the thing is it's clearly a half. The other one, if you look at it, it's not really quite a half yet. You know, you see it's still like this is, I would still consider this a crescent, right? But as soon as this phase happens and phase changes, all of a sudden, bro, it's a half. And it's not a full half, right? It's not full, but this is in its half cycle. So what you are entering into is over here, instead of one crescent, you are getting one half-ish moon, which I can try my best to illustrate that. I don't know if that's, you know, you can see from my illustration.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
So,
No extra cost.
so in your opinion, what's causing this effect? The light of the moon, the gravitational moon, the magnetic, or the electrical?
No, so what is happening is so the phases of the moon are happening because the moon is rotating around us based on, you know, like we're spinning around once a day. So we go through a day and night, day and night, day and night. But the moon is rotating around us. So from here to here to here, it's going to take 28 days before it comes back.
Right.
And so it's rotating. So what's causing that is our perspective on this degree of angle. So I wrote this straight line up here, right? And that was for the new moon and the full moon. What we are entering into when we hit ole days is instead of having one straight line, we are now entering into one phase where we get one bent line like that. And eventually, when it's half moon, we're going to have one bent line like that. In terms of this body is here, this body is here, and it's going 90 degrees to this body here. And so we are coming out of alignment. Whereas here we got one straight line. Here we got one straight line. Here we got to go down to one bent thing. Here we got to go down to one bent thing. So we're coming out of this straight line where the bodies are no longer lined up. We're coming into bent. So the energy is not flowing through the same way. That's why if you notice, those first couple days were good days for planting. What does this one say? Unproductive for planting. So as that alignment is no longer a straight line, it becomes more bent, comes at 90 degrees, the bodies aren't lined up. It becomes unproductive for planting because the energy isn't streaming through the same way. So that's the phenomenon. It's rotating around us and it's coming in and out of phase with us. Like it's out of phase, back in phase, out of phase, back in phase, out of phase. And this is determining the energy that's transmitted through these bodies to our planet.
There's the word for turmeric, which is olena, isn't it?
Olena.
Olena, is that the same suffix as stop?
Turmeric?
No.
No. Okay.
No, don't. Yeah. No, because you gotta break it down a little bit further. O is of, le is to kind of shake like this, and na is like many or is one interpretation. So it's of the many shakings. You go look at the Olena planet, kind of comes like that, and there's plenty. And that's just one small slice. I'm not start. You want to get in tune with nature? Learn Olelo Hawaii, because the language of this land and this place, it is. You can start speaking Hawaiian and understanding it. You can be 100% in tune. It's not like you have to read one book. The word already tells you. Like, if I can read this, it's going to tell me, no plant today. It's not like, oh, half moon. Half moon doesn't tell you crap, right? This moon is telling you, crap, things will not be upright today, and it's the first day of this. So by just reading Hawaiian language, by understanding Hawaiian language, you can know what I'm supposed to do today. Oh, obvious, not plant. I'm going to go to Hawaiian Sanctuary and give one class. And my car will break down. Today is Kane. Today is Kane. So it's just this, So Kane is one day you don't farm, you celebrate. That's why I'm going to the Medicine for the People concert. Yeah, so today is not productive for planting. Cultivate, prune, and hill up sweet potato, and plants remain pruned back longer. Why? Because the energy flow is bent. So if you wanted your good plants to grow, you should do it when it's straight alignment. You want to attack your junk plants, they're going to be bent, so they're not going to get this, like if you knock someone down and they revive them, they're going to come right back. But you knock them down, there's no one to revive them because the energy's not flowing. They're going to stay cut back longer. So there's bentness here that's happening. So it's the time to prune. It's the time to just do other things. Usually you'll find when you start to tune in that you'll just notice these cycles in your life as well. So this is our first day of not having a good day for planting. So we're coming around the cycle. We're getting into there. And here right at the bottom, here it says, fishing not good, ole, nothing from the seed, right? So this thing even helps you understand a little bit of the language when you buy the app. So Christmas today is going to be ole kulua, which is the most... Wait, am I supposed to say that yet? No. Oh, yeah, I am. It's the first thing. It's the most challenging day of the whole lunar cycle. Why?
Yes.
Because today it is directly bent in half. It is this shape. It means all the cosmic energies are not flowing through the earth. They're bent. It has to go like that, and that's a really hard thing for it to do. And so that is the most challenging day. You'll find it's the day you have to go pay your summons at the courthouse, and they're going to close early, and you're not going to have cash. But if you know this is coming, you're already prepared in your psyche. You're already like, yeah, I know that, you know, it's not going to flow, but it's cool. I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to try and maintain. I know that's not good for planting, trying new things. So when you're coming through and you're talking about your, I was talking about setting your intention on the new moon. Those first couple days you're planting, you're really gathering your intention. Now during these Ole days, you're kind of letting it cruise. You know, anyone ever listen to Abraham? Step 1 is you ask. Step 2 is not your work. You let the universe do it for you. And step 3 is you get ready to receive. So doing it is not really your thing, and that's what these Ole days are for, is because you do the work, you know, you set your good intention, you kind of cruise through these Ole days. Not to say don't do nothing, but do more maintenance. Don't try to start new things. Don't try to like go out and, you know, whatever. This, you kind of get the idea. Prune and mulch, right? Cut small things off, drop, chop, and drop. That's the days for this.
Does that apply to other parts of the world? All this, not just here?
Yeah, my app's specifically kind of for Hawaii because my algorithm, the way it calculates, but this is universally true. You'll study any moon system and you'll find these same things of like full moons, new moons are great, and half moons they're like, don't take so hard on yourself. Just prune. So we come through, we go Ole Kulua. What's going to be the next phase? Good guess, it's Ole Kukolu, right? Right, because we went 1, 2, 3, we're in our 3rd day. We've already passed the most challenging day. We're starting to now wax. Or we've been waxing this whole time, right? But we are now past we're in a gibbous, or I don't know the Western names of them. But again, still unproductive because we're still at that bent angle, right? We're coming across. Then we are going to go, the next one here, Ole Pau, right? And so now you're at the end of Ole days. So just like the other one, the Ku Pau, we're now at Ole Pau, and this is a good day for planting some things here. But really it's cultivate and prune back. But you can start planting things that start to look like this moon, like eggplant, ulu, I don't know why string beans on there, but squash, melon, and other veggies. Because the veggies are starting to swell, starting to like, we want them to be full. It's that energy coming through for these guys. So Christmas can be fun this year. Don't expect too much gifts. But now we get into my favorite part of the cycle, which I actually already said it was the Lao days, but my other favorite part, because what I love about this one is we can start with a few phases, and we're gonna have Huna, which again I want to show you just the same way we transition into the Ole days from the Ku days. I can show you the same thing again. So check out. Oh, I'm not in the way now. Okay. So the Ole day, you see how this corner is sharp.
Oh yeah.
The top sharp. Watch. I can switch to the next one. Boom. The thing is sort of round now. And so when you're seeing those sharp edges, you know, okay, that's Ole days. Like, don't do that. If it's not a crescent and it's still sharp, you know you're in Ole days. As soon as you see the moon start to come more round like this, now you're starting to get into our full moon phase. It's not full moon yet, but you're starting to get into that phase, and these are my favorite. Because what this does is this follows a really simple way of going through whole maturity. So the first one is Huna. Plant things that kind of look like this, but this Huna is not necessarily the best day to go look for knowledge. It just, because Huna means to hide. Kahuna, like the hidden knowledge, the wisdom. The more you get into Kauna, the more you can be like, it was a joke. But until you really laugh cosmically, you may as well think it's not a good day. But the sharp tips hide, so we're starting to get into the full moon phase, and this is when you'll start to notice the moon a lot. You may notice when it's a half moon, but this one will be like up in the sky out there. at sunset. You'll start to be like, oh yeah, moon, nice, cool. Because it's up during the day, in the evening. And you'll see it. So huna's to hide. The way I think of this is like you're planting a seed. You're hiding the seed in the ground. The next phase coming up is mohalu. So you've taken the seed, you planted it in the ground, the thing grows up a little bit. What's the first thing that happens, especially with weeds? They flower.
Oh.
Right? Not always, but well, after it's grown. Mohalu means it's something, I don't know the exact meaning of it. I don't know. I should tune in more to this one, but this one basically the way I think of it is I think it means bloom actually. Anyone know? I think that's kind of what it means is to bloom. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So it starts to flower, and so this is good because secrets will be revealed this day. So if you're impatient the day before and you waited, now it'll start to bloom for you. And so flowers on this day will be especially beautiful. So go plant all your flowers, any flower growers, you might want to plant them this day.
So all these little snippets of advice, they're just for when to put them in the ground, but not to do anything else related to them. Like when it says plant uala or plant, you would want to plant flowers in anticipation that when they're ready to bloom, because they were planted on the holiday, then they'll be beautiful.
Right.
Or not just to harvest them that day.
No, that's your first premonition is the more correct one. The second one's probably decent too. But yeah, planting flowers this day, so you can pop your seeds, pop them.
And these for transplants too, same? Or?
Yeah, within reason. I mean, so I always when I start my natural farming thing, I say rule 0 is whenever you can, because that's the best time is whenever you can. Because if you're like, my mom's like, oh yeah, I would plant, but I'm waiting for the moon phase. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just lazy. And there's some truth to that. Like, so coordinate your life with this, but get your whole life to be in this cycle, and don't wait for certain things. Just try to align your life into this way so you can do it. And it does make a difference if you gather FPJ type stuff on the Lao moons and this is only to enhance your life, because up until now you may have not even known this stuff, right? And so as you start to incorporate this in, just try to notice subtly, but don't run your life by this, because you will end up just, you won't get stuff done. So
Drake, I just bought the app, by the way.
Choo!
It's beautiful, everybody. And really well made and thought out. Nice job.
Thanks.
But when I wake up in the morning and I want to plant, do I like just open up for the day? I just go to the day every day and see.
yeah, so when you boot the app, it should bring you to today, always today. That's kind of how I set it up. In fact, it has a widget in it. So what I do is you know that left side of the iPhone or whatever, the thing you never use with all those statuses and stock tickers and things we never use. You can actually put the moon widget in that one. Go to edit and say I want Mahina in this one, and it'll pop up there. So sometimes I just go to the left side to see what it is. Instead of booting the app, I just go to my widget window. And it's nice. It'll just give you today's planting advice in the widget window.
You don't need internet?
No, it's offline. I mean, you got to download it from the Apple Store, but once it's offline, you just have it.
So I can put this on the iPod.
Yep.
What happens when we learn more about
I don't know. Let's try it. Oh, there you go. It tells you a little bit about it. So I'll just read this because you guys probably kind of all see it. The Hawaiians were spectacular navigators, perhaps among the best in the world. Not only did they have a deep understanding of the oceans and current, this should be current, sorry, but also the stars and the movement of the moon. That being the case, it should come as no surprise that the moon plays a very important role in the lives of Hawaiians. Each lunar phase had a specific name in Hawaiian and were associated with kapus as well as times for planting, fishing, and gathering. So how to use this app. Preceding and following dates can be viewed by scrolling left and right. Specific dates can be chosen by pushing custom date picker, and return to today's moon phase by pushing the today button. So pretty simple.
Where do you buy this app?
On the App Store.
Okay.
So there's my custom date button, there's my today button, and there's the learn more. Which the cool thing is I can update this all the time. You guys can get more info as I learn more. I'd love to fill it in more. My main reason to get it out was my friend. I had written it for Android years ago, and my friend was like, "Oh, I want to use it for my school garden." I'm like, "But we have iPads," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll learn Swift." So I learned a whole new language to write this, and it was fun.
It looks different on the iPad.
Yeah, it's because it's designed for the iPhone, so it shrinks it a little bit. The iPad, you stretch it.
Because you don't get all this data on the iPad.
Oh, try turn it sideways. Oh, maybe that's not my app. That doesn't really look like my app.
I know, but that's only Mahina that came up. I'll upload it.
Okay. Yeah. It's nothing like real world live testing to find out. Simulator didn't catch that one. So we planted our seed, it grew, and then we have Mahalo's flowering. Right? Especially good day for flowering. Our next phase, and you see we're getting into a full moon here, is Hua. So it sprouts, it flowers, then it fruits. Hua means fruit or egg. Both. But this thing kind of looks like a fruit to me, and it also looks like an egg. And it says the moon will be an egg-shaped appearance tonight, known to be a fertile night for many things. So ladies, take. The moon is also, if you're fully in tune with your cycle, you probably will ovulate this night. If you're tuned in that way. So we're getting there. So the next one, I love this phase because now we get to Akua. Akua means, anyone know?
God.
Oof, that was the answer I was looking for. It means the God, creator, spirit. It also means fungus.
Both?
Both. The Hawaiians are very tuned in. They realize that not only above, so below, and the Akua is everywhere. And it so essentially means microorganisms, which is the spirit that's present within you. It's these tiny beings that tell you eat more gluten. You're like, no, but I'm trying to stop. It's like, eat those donuts. Get the sugar one. You're like, okay. Your teeth are like, stop. But,
Is that a good day to collect IMO1?
you'd want to like collect. Yeah. You could set your box this day. It would be great. Setting your box out on Akua even the day before would be great. Because the one before is to bloom, right? Or fruit bloom. Akua, the spirit's there. So maybe anywhere in this time is good for microbes. So again, we're coming back into a good planting time, right? We went through the oles, but now we're coming back into this good planting time. It's fruit. Akua's out. And Akua also kind of means spirit. It's not like Uhane is really like ghost and spirit, but Akua is also this presence. So it just says night activities discouraged, although it's one of my favorite nights to go outside and dance. I don't know why, but again, coming in, and for some reason this one's in English, I should translate it. It's Uala, Kalo, Ipu, Maya, and Corne. I don't know what corn is.
Corn, I love it, bro.
It's not.
So good.
So coming in Akua, and so we sprouted, we flowered, we fruited. Now the spirit came into it, right? The fruit is what gives you life. It's what gives you spirit. It's what gives you that awesomeness. And then we coming into Mahealani. Oh, where the hell did Hoku go?
Hoku, you said full moon.
Okay. So the app, because like I said, the thing doesn't always go daylight to this. The thing is going to skip one thing right here. Unfortunately, it's a matter of my algorithm. I could make it way more accurate, but it's going to skip Hoku. Okay. This is how it self-corrects itself to always keep you in phase, because the thing isn't always related to when the sun's rising, so it collects. So sometimes you might skip through a phase. It's not one bug, it's one feature.
So glad you told us.
So next month?
No. So it is written on your paper. It is written on your paper. My algorithm, however, when I calculate and I go to the Sundays and whatever, it's calculating it out. So what Hoku is the complete full moon. It is that day where it is full moon. And I don't have it up here, but that's okay. But what it means is, it's the actual full moon. So we started with the full moon, starting with Akua.
So if you go to January 30th, then you get Hoku.
Okay.
But it's just not for December?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Because of the algorithm thing.
Oh, there we go. Okay. But so I can go to a custom date. Here we are. It's break time. Okay, so we can finish with this full moon for a little break here. But so when the full moon, again, we're in that alignment. It's great time for excellent planting, all kinds of things, except for taro, because taro, it's related to humans, the earth. It's not the stars, not so much. Abundant things animated by the moon will be up there. So you reached. So you went from sprouting, flowering, fruiting. You got the spirit, and now you turn into one star. How's that one? Hoku means star. In one small, think of ho is to like kind of move and ku is to erect, So. Okay, so we take one break, and then I'm gonna have to slam, and then we can talk natural farming too. We're getting there. Okay, so when you hear me say "ehulie," that means return.
Oh yeah.
Yes, someone knows the rest of that. Okay, so we came through, we went to full fruition, we came to Hoku. This is actually when your goals are supposed to be kind of fully blooming and blossoming for you. So those things you set on the new moon are coming through. It only took like two weeks for that to happen. So now Hoku, and so some people had completion here. They were like, oh, we gotta go work on a farm, and I'm glad you guys are around to see the rest of this. So Hoku come in, we are at our full moon. This is the one you look on your calendar and you'll see a full moon. This is what it is. This is one of the 4 different full moons. Starting with, let's see, go back. This is the 3rd one. So starting with Hua. You see how this is almost a full moon, starting with Hua being a full moon here. Coming to Akua, coming to Hoku, and then going down to Mahealani, which this one actually looks the most full to me on this thing.
Mahealani. It's darn close.
So Mahealani is our next one, which Mahealani is like the beauty of the heavens. So you've gone through blossoming, flowering, getting full of the spirit, turning into a star, and now into the expanse of the heavens. So you've gone through this whole transcendent process, which this moon phase is there to remind us of as we go through our goals, that this same thing happens. We kind of reach like enlightenment or whatever, so we can chop wood and carry water again tomorrow with a better attitude. So that's really what it's all about. And again, on this, because it's a nice round thing, follow, you want fat follow. That's a good time. Gourds, especially gourds and yams. And then flowers again are nice this time because it's this enlightening and illuminating thing. This full moon phase is always good for planting big, nice things that you want. So when you're thinking of the moon phase, like you want to plant pumpkins or something like that, you know, big round things. You want big fruits. This is that time. When it's skinnier, you don't think of skinnier things. This is our big time for this. And then once we hit Mahina, now we are headed back towards, we start waning. We went through our waxing, we now start waning, and notice it's waning on this side. And we are now waning, and this is called Kulu, which Kulu means to fall, tumble, like Kulu. And so this is not a good day to build a house or that kind of stuff. Just take it easy because your goals should have come to fruition. So don't try to stack anything else up. Just kind of cruise with it. But you can plant bananas because bananas are forgiving. I heard an interesting story when the first Polynesians came to Hawaii Island. There were already folks here. They're commonly referred to as the Menehune. And these folks were actually, they only ate bananas. And the lowland people ate bananas that went like this, down. And the upland folks ate bananas like the fihi, which stands straight up. Anyone seen a fihi banana? Instead of the banana coming down and hanging down, the banana actually stands straight up like that. And the upland folks loved this banana. They were the most prized, and they were actually a little bit more healthy than the folks down below that ate the banana going down. So.
Do they still have those the bananas upright today?
Never seen.
Yep, there are fihi bananas. You can look them up.
How do you spell that?
SEHI.
Fihi.
So we go through Kulu, we start to fall. Now we enter into my favorite day. So we came around, we went through this whole building phase, which I didn't draw here, but you can kind of see, you know, we went through this half, we went through this full moon. Now we come after Kulu, which is to fall. We're then going into the La'au days. So like I was saying, these La'au days, the reason they're named La'au, at least from my understanding, my experimentation, my vision, what I've seen, is that the sun and the moon are both up in the middle, or in the very early morning. Early morning is already the best time to gather, but when the moon is also up, there's even more juice in our plants. So if you wake up right with the sunrise, you will notice, you know, sun from my perspective setting over, or moon setting over Mauna Kea, sun rising over the Pacific Ocean. And that's when I'll go gather my plants right before the sun rises, you know, just in this bright moonlight, which gives you enough light to see what you're doing, because it's still pretty much full. And the La'au days for gathering medicinal plants. And again, you don't really want to plant sweet potatoes because sweet potatoes are underground. It's when it's darker. This is still too bright for sweet potatoes, kind of idea. Start gathering. But bananas again, super forgiving. We'll stick with that. So we had La'au Kukahi. Now we got La'au Ku Lua. Lua is two, right? Let's all count together. E kahi, e lua, e kolu, pau. You only need to know three for this.
So when you go number 2,
E lua.
It's called lua. So yeah.
Yeah, the A is dropped when you're saying like lua. Lua also means toilet or pit. So, you know, that's why you go number 2, right?
Is that what they call it, a loo?
It's lua in Hawaiian. If you're going number 2, right? You go to the lua. And traditionally, you used to poop in pits, and then they would ferment inside and do all kinds of nice stuff. So again, another day to gather La'au, our second medicine day, La'au gathering, doing all that. We'll go to the next one here. But there's no third medicine day. This is actually Pau. There's only 3 medicine days, so the third one is a pau day. We always go through a pau before we go. And this was the day to not necessarily gather as much, but that you prepare and administer the medicine that you gathered the days before. So typically you gather before, and then you have a couple days fermentation before to bioactivate your medicines, and then you're going to give them out. And so this is the way it's going. The kahuna would issue it this day. So that's pau with I'll give it out, everything you created. So coming back around from here, again, notice, what do I have at the top and the bottom?
Point.
It's sharp again, right? It's not as smooth. It becomes that right angle-ish thing, and the same right angle is beginning to happen again. We were pretty much straight on in this sector. We were in this straight line, and now we're headed over here into our non-alignment area. So we're headed back into our ole days. And again, this one's just called ole kukahi. And again, advice is pretty much the same as before. Cultivate, try not to plant too much. And what do you think the next phase is going to be?
Lua.
Yep. Ole kulua.
Ole pau?
Then we're going to go, again, not a good day for those types of things. Ole pau. Why isn't my thing lining up? Alright. Anyway, this one should have skipped one more further, but the kupao should have been the other moon. Anyhow. Nothing like fixing bugs in front of everybody in there. Good thing is live updates and it'll push when it's ready. I just went over this and debugged the crap out of it. But anyway, not gonna make excuses. So what we're now headed into is the loa days. So does anyone know what loa means? Long, right? Long, large, big, right?
Loa days.
Nui is big, but loa is also big in a wide way. Right? That's why you have Mauna Loa. The thing is huge and wide. So loa. The loa kukahi is talking in this case about long things. So long. And so what things are long are bamboo, sugarcane, string beans, mamaki, wake, wapine, which is lemongrass. Wake is a mulberry tree, real long. And also this would be ava, real long, nodi. Looks just like bamboo, same kind of characteristic. So those types of long plants during your loa days. And this is loa kukahi. So this is more what my moon should look like here, but so what's happening is we're coming back around. We went through the half moon, and now we're coming back more into alignment again. But this alignment, as it's shrinking, is the loa days. The first ones were the ku, rising. It's waxing, rising. The loa is kind of shrinking, long, opposite thing happening in your mind, if you can conceive that, because the phases look the same, right? You just look at that one it's the same, but it's the on the beginning when we were going through these kukahis, the ku days, they were getting bigger and a rising and writhing. These ones, the loa is kind of getting longer and shrinking down. Think of it that way. So again, planting anything but potatoes and melon or banana, because melons are round. We're getting out of those days, coming back into these.
Drake, I don't see papaya here anywhere, and unless it's just included in the thoughts of being long and tall, so it's sort of lumpy but tall, but it's not specifically mentioned.
Yeah, papaya would be long and tall, right?
So
just via its nature, it kind of looks more like the bamboo. Just, yeah. We also mentioned trees in certain spots, and so you can consider it a tree as well. I don't think the papaya was a traditional Hawaiian crop. Papaya was introduced much later on. And again, this is giving you the idea to let you use your intuition on this, of how we're seeing these phases.
And that's sort of an annoying question about why it's called these things. Like in the upper right and lower left quadrants, it's the Ole days repeated, right?
Yep.
They have the same name and same sort of things that go on, but how come the upper left and lower right aren't the same as well?
Because this one over this full moon phase was kind of this whole growth completion type of, that the seed being hidden and then blooming and going out, and you're seeing the full moon, and that really had a peculiar thing to, they could see this growth phase happening. Whereas when we get back this way, they're not the same, because one was waxing, the other is waning. And we're about to get into some interesting days right after this. So as we're starting to wane, as we're starting to come back down, now with your, you started with your goal, you went around, you kind of took it easy, your goal came into completion, then you ate some medicine to feel better, coming back to relaxing. Now what we're doing is we're coming back as we enter these loa, so the loa days are here, and those again are sort of larger crescents but waning. We're now about to hit some special days, which is today, which is Kane. So Kane was is an archetypal form. It is the sun as well as fresh water. They both contain hydrogen. Might be a key for you. That's at least my surmisation. Is that when they're talking about Kane is hydrogen. Kane is also means male.
Right.
It's you see on the bathrooms it says Mahina and Kane is man. So we embody that. And so as we're coming today is an excellent day for planting anything. And in the old days, it was reserved for ceremony and ritual, and no farming occurred. Because as you're coming through this completion, now you're giving thanks for what's happened. You kind of went through, you let it happen to you, and now you're giving thanks. And this was a very big part of the Hawaiian culture, is to embrace giving thanks, to respect the natural cycles, and to realize that these archetypal forms. There's probably some relationship in the angle of the moon to the sun is why this is Kane. I don't know. That's something we could explore. But they take it easy this day. And there's certain kapus that were lifted on these days. And this day specifically, the kapu was, no farming or fishing. Just take it easy. Celebrate that it's happened for you. The fishing advice talks more about the kapus. And then the second, one of the major archetypal forms is Lono. Lono is known as the agricultural aspect of Hawaiian nature. So as we're coming back around, you're giving thanks for kind of the agricultural that's giving you all these gifts. We plant the seed, but nature makes it grow. Replace nature with whatever deity you want to put in there. And again, excellent day to plant food, because Lono represents agriculture, so anything you want to plant is a great time this time. And notice the moon is getting real small. It's almost right in alignment in marriage again with the sun. And then we're headed to Mauli. And this is probably the one I know the least about, but I'm pretty sure, so Mau means far, and I'm pretty sure that when the moon is closest to the sun, it's actually like furthest away from us. I'm not entirely, I think it has like a perigee and an apogee. And I think it's this, so the Hawaiians may have known that the moon with this name would indicate to me that they actually knew the moon was at its furthest from the earth on this day. But again, a great day to plan anything, because why plan anything? Because again, when we're at this new moon, we're entering into this zone right here, and we're entering into this straight line. We're getting this alignment again. Furthermore, the sun and the moon are aligning with each other, and that's even more potent than the full moon. The full moon's magical for us, but the new moon is when it's most energized. We can't see it doing its work. That's why, you know, the female moon is, the female tends to be the darker part of the, you know, the yin yang. So it's like the hidden part that's the empty space that gives birth to everything else.
Rick, are you somewhat familiar with the moon cycles in other cultures, like European? Is the new moon good in England, old England, or Germany? Do you know anything about? It seems like the new moon was special for farmers in other cultures too.
Yeah, if you study the biodynamic calendar, which was pioneered by Rudolf Steiner and his group, they talk a lot about this as well. But I'm just talking about the moon, the sun, and the earth. They got into like Mars and, you know, all these other things which are totally, the more you study it, the more you'll see there's influence, but the less you'll have scientific credibility in academic circles. So you got to balance that. You know, do you want to be a spiritual person or an academic person? And both, right? Yeah, don't talk about the Rudolf Steiner stuff until you publish your PhD, and just let that subtle knowledge get you your connection. So, and then this last phase we're coming through is Muku, which, if you study your Hawaiian moon phase, Muku doesn't, like, if you go look at the Bishop Museum calendar, for instance, they will omit Muku every so often. What my app does is it actually, you saw how we skipped Hoku in one? My app actually corrects like real time. Theirs corrects by just saying, oh, Muku doesn't happen all the time. That's not true. Muku happens every cycle. It's just not lining up with the days. And so the way they correct their calendar is at the end of the month, they say, oh, we'll just throw away Muku. Right, but Muku happens every month, and so mine just throws away a random day whenever, so watch out. But it's going to get you back into alignment. It's not a bug feature. So that's how we realign with the days and all that coming in. So Muku happens every time. It's this last wisp right before Hilo, where the sun and the moon are together. And Muku is this great time where it's just this tiny wisp, and if you actually catch it, it's right before sunrise. You can catch just this tiny wisp, and if you plant a banana that day, your banana stalk will be the length of that Muku. So when you're looking at the sun and you see that, or the moon, and you see that length, your banana will be like that same huge thing, which a Muku is a measurement of 4 feet, which so from my heart, when I take my right hand and I put it like this, to my left fingertips is 1 Muku. Oh. So essentially 4 feet from here to here is 1 Muku. So imagine having a banana rack this big, and that's the legend for this day, is to plant this time right before the sun, you know, right when you see the moon, you plant your thing in there, and boom, you get 1 Muku rack popping off. Which is approximately 4 feet long. So, and that then brings us back to Hilo, which is again our new moon phase. So my app corrects in the middle. The other ones will correct different times, but this will keep you in sync. And we're back to Hilo. And there's a reason Hilo is on the most east side of the Hawaiian island chain. Because Hilo meaning the beginning. Hilo where the sun rises first. You know, it's probably out here, Puna, this point out here is actually where, you know, it's the most, but people are like, I don't really want to live on the rocks right there. I'll go live in this bay and we'll call that Hilo. easier to get your canoe in and out, unless you can go Puli'i and whatever, but it's not as big. And plus, Hilo get that nice estuary with the lo'i, the whole Wailoa system. That's where you can live if you was didn't have diesel fuel to get you around. So that's why we have Hilo. It's that side. It's the east. It's the rising. It's again back to our new cycle. So those last couple of days are these honoring days of honoring the whole system and thinking about what you're gonna do for your next cycle as you come through Muku and stuff. You should be thinking about what do you now on Hilo again want to have an intention moving into this new moon cycle.
Wanted to ask you, your studying and research, is there any indication that the passing of the moon better or less than one that better than the other, or the opposite, or the other side of the coin? How's that received by?
So the main takeaways for planting is this line thing. This is why I drew this line versus this right angle. Anytime you're in a line, awesome. Those are great times. Like, don't worry too much about what you're planting. That's like a fine-tuned of like, oh, we're waning, I'm gonna plant some bamboo. We're waxing, I'm gonna plant some kalo or uwala. Just this right angle, when you're in ole days, that's not necessarily the best for planting. Dana was telling me, and one thing about is I don't know, you'd think we'd have enough empirical evidence by long study of farming to really know this. And old ancient wisdom has the farmer's almanac, which will tell you these things. But I've talked to a lot of people and they say, okay, if I plant during this time, the ole days, my fruit cracks.
Wow.
Or whatever happens, or if I do transplants, like not many of them take during these times. And it also, I don't know how much it correlates to like rain or whatever, but it's definitely this concept of, if you can go with the cosmic energy, which is kind of like woo-woo, like cosmic energy, but bro, look at the ocean rising up and the tides of a celestial bodies having effect on water. And what are we made of?
Water.
What is the plants made of? So if it's lifting the ocean up and down, maybe it's some woo-woo stuff, but it's affecting the water in there somehow. And so when you have this out of phase, the water, the tides aren't nearly as drastic during these days. So you go look and the tide's going to stay you're not going to get a super high tide or a super low tide during these days. Over here you might get a super high tide or low tide. I'm not exactly sure how the tides line up. If you read the fishing advice, you get a lot more on that. I tend to be a land guy, not a water guy, so I don't make as much observations. But so if you think of it, the plant doesn't have a heartbeat to go and pump stuff through, or I actually believe it's different than that. But having this moon cycle go and spin around and the tide go from low to high during a day, it's going to pump all that juice in the plant up and down just naturally. Low tide, it's going to be way down in the roots. High tide, it's going to be up in your tips of your plant. And so that natural cycle of cycling the growth, the juices up and down in your plant is going to, help it grow. If it can't pump that stuff and it's just an ole day and it's not moving very much, then it can't do as much growth and mixing because it can't move the nutrients within its own body. So without being too woo-woo of cosmic energy, that alone should give you some indication.
I have a question about, what if you have some weeds that you don't want in there, and you want to get rid of it, very invasive? What planting or a moon cycle would be good for removing them and making sure it can stay gone?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I talked a lot about how these are great days for planting when you're in alignment, and then if you go look at our ole days, you'll see on the ole days it actually says, we'll go to ole kukahi. It says planting is unproductive, prune and mulch today. So the pruning and mulching, and this one here where it says ole kukahi, it says, am I blocking it? Sorry. Plants will remain pruned back longer.
Mm-hmm.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Right, so if you whack a tree back and you want to grow back, whack it on these ole days. If you you want it to grow, don't do as much.
What if you're pruning for like good fruit later, like a fruit tree that you want to carefully prune on purpose so that it will be productive? Kind of pruning?
I'm uncertain. I don't have. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I try to tune it as much as I can to this, and then make observations. I actually created another app for my planting. So when I plant, it tells me the moon phase I planted on. When I do maintenance, it tells me what moon phase it was. It just reverse engineers that via the date, and then I can look at it. And so hopefully, I'll be able to build better correspondences. But at this point, I often go with rule 0, which is I gotta be over here at this time. Okay, I can whack this now. Like, you know. But the more I tune into this, when I didn't have internet access and I wasn't as much on Facebook at night, I tell you, I tuned into this. I lived actually in a tent in the bushes, and I noticed the moon a whole lot more, and I started to tune a lot more into it, and I started to notice these synchronicities that are happening. But many of us don't even, like, many people don't even know when the full moon happens, like at sunset. Like, they don't even know that. I happened to learn that. I took astronomy 101 in university, and then they told me this stuff, and I was like, wow, my entire life, like 22 years of my life, I never realized that before. No one had ever given me like 101 of this, and I'd never made enough observations. And sometimes you'll hear flat earthers talk about how the moon's up during the day and how it's self-illuminating, and it's like, crap, you understand this, you would be like, even if it was flat, the moon is still going around us. Like, it still is. So you can believe whatever you like, but the moon is going around us, and it makes perfect sense. Because they have to like do all this reverse engineering, like, oh, it's self-illuminating, all this. I'm like, bruh, it's so simple if you understand this. Even if it was a disk, the moon is still going around us on the disk. Oh, this is actually a snow globe, sorry. Sorry, I don't want to offend any flat earth. because what the flat earth is really about is, can you put your mind into thinking that way? Because you can take any reference point and build a system around any reference point. And I give them props for putting their mind into that one, because this one makes sense to me, and a heliocentric cruising through space that the sun is moving makes sense to me. In a lot of ways, I build it, but for today's case, we assume the sun was still, right? So we sort of assumed some crazy flat Earth stuff today, right here with this. But it was useful for us in this case, right? So don't hold on to a paradigm unless it's useful for you. Otherwise, it's just a concept, a phenomenon that you can let go.
So you're going to release that planting app? The app you were just talking about? Maintenance and...
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on it, man. Like,
no rush. Can I have it by Saturday? No pressure.
No, actually, so the app I'm presently working on that I'm putting a fair amount of energy into is a certification app. Trying to make it easy so that folks can get certified in Korean natural farming. So, before I move on to talk a little bit about Korean natural farming, that kind of stuff, is there any questions on the moon?
Fantastic. Good job.
Thank you.
If you ever looked into the Mahina schools lunar calendar, it's like slightly different than yours. I noticed like some discrepancies, but it's not anything major. I was wondering if maybe they made a different day than your app does, or
Okay, so like I was saying, the Bishop Museum one, which is the Kamehameha Schools one, it forgets Muku a lot. If I look at it, Muku won't be on there. It'll be on there like 3-4 times. And it forgets Muku because it's correcting based on days. Mine corrects at just whenever it just like realizes it's out, and it corrects, and all of a sudden like Hoku disappears, and you're like, whoa, where'd the full moon go? Well, it was there, but the app is a guideline. And so the moon is going, like, my friend Joe was telling me, oh, the moon's different in Waimanalo than it is in Hilo, so you got to know your place. And I'm like, the moon's pretty much the same. You know, if it's so one question: if it is a full moon here today in Hilo, what phase is it in China?
Pretty much the same.
Full moon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys got to know that because I asked my elementary school kids and they're like, half moon? I'm like, no, it's full. After all this whole explanation, they're like, half moon? I'm like, no way, it couldn't possibly be. But so it's always because the moon goes around every 28 days, it's always the same phase for each of us. But it is based a little bit on your place. And like I said, the sun is way out of sync with the moon. And so when I'm trying to reckon, because we keep time on solar time, I then have to convert, and I talked about that precision, and I dropped precision and all that, and it's challenging. However, I did hear that if you can write like the 13-month moon calendar and go by that time, you will actually be more accurate, because the solar calendar is actually off. Every 4 years we have to add a day. And so we actually have a huge margin of error in that. I mean, it's not huge, but it's big enough that eventually in 200 years you'd be, what is 200 divided by 4? In 400 years you'd be 100 days off. You know?
A lot of days.
So keeping time and then leap seconds and all these things that we do, that actually if we followed lunar time, we would actually be more precise than the solar calendar. But unfortunately, like, it's a male-dominated patriarchy, and we do all this stuff, you know. Right? Sorry, I was born with this, you know.
Does the having to drop the hilo or the muku or whatever the bishop calendar does versus yours have to do with this 28, 29, 30, 31 day difference every single month? That's what you're making out.
No. It's not the month. It's that the full moon doesn't always, like, okay, so the full moon always happens at 6 p.m. but the next phase happens at like hours that are outside of our calendar. Like it's like, because you don't. So when I said it's always a full moon at sunset, is not exactly true. It could be like you will, for all your reckoning, you will see a full moon, but it may have happened at 2 o'clock, or may have happened at a certain time in there, but you saw, yeah. Yeah, it looks full to you, but so it doesn't line up exactly with our hours and our time. It's not 24 hours and it's not 365, and it's, they don't exactly line up. So
if you look at the full moon with your friends on a Friday night or on a Saturday or on a Sunday, some people can see that it's full. Some people say, no, it's not quite. It's got a little flat side. People see it differently because it actually is different, but some people don't notice that at all. It's the full moon.
And that's, yeah, so that's correct. But you can tell if it's at sunset, if you're gonna say, okay, tonight's Hoku. But yeah, and that's also true. So people can look at the same thing and see something completely different. And then the other thing, yeah. So anyway, that's on that. I had another idea that was somewhat relevant, but you get the concept and the idea, and then once you understand this cycle, you can tune in and you can understand. And the main thing is this line or this bent thing. And those are kind of the whole bits. So, yeah, thanks. I think you guys already clapped, so I'm done. Let's see, we got, it's 12. If you want to go, is it all right? Give you a 5-minute overview of what we did in Korea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so let's think, what was the most relevant thing? So we went, yeah, thanks for coming. Thank you. Oh, yeah. So I'm thinking the most important thing to explain is, I don't know, David, what do you think is the most important thing? And I'll kind of freestyle on that.
Is there a relationship to the changeover period, the moon cycles, and how the planet cycle with the moon at a specific time?
Yeah, so when we ask Master Cho about the moon cycle and stuff, he tells us to get the biodynamic calendar. But since you bring that up, I want to see, so I think what's the most interesting thing to me is a thing called morning sickness. And what's happening is the plant is going from accumulating, or actually, the plant is going from growing kind of out, this consumptive growth of growing out, consuming things, to then going to accumulative growth into the seeds. And so what happens is the plant is, instead of turning sunlight into carbs, so sun to carbs, it then is changing carbs into sugar. So sun turns into carbs, carbs go into sugar. And sugar is the consumptive growth, or the outside growth. And so what you end up with is this thing called morning sickness. And Master Cho talked a lot about this. And what he calls this is the changeover, or exo, changeover period. Changeover period. And so what happens is this is a very hard thing to do for the plant, to go from growing. Oftentimes you'll see a tree grow really big, but then you don't get any fruit, right? Yeah. Or you get fruit and all the flowers fall off, or the fruit gets small and it falls off, right? How many times have we experienced that? Everyone's seen it, right? And you're like, dang, this thing's so big, why didn't it go? Well, it's because it wasn't able to make this transition here. And this is the hardest thing for a plant. And so basically, it depends on your plant, but anywhere between a week to 5 days, so 7 to 5 days before, you apply a solution that is high in phosphorus, which this is water-soluble calcium phosphate.
5 to 7 days before it's found flower.
Right. And that's going to precede it into this stage and knowing this. So when you see a plant and you can precede this, and then it helps this chemical conversion going, because your plant all of a sudden wants to, from growing leaf, it now wants to flower. And so applying the calphos before to lead it into this is the way to go.
If you miss that time period, you still get
So how do you determine when this period is going to be? I was looking at Master Cho's sheet a lot, and if my God, what I do is I go between 1/3 and half is going to be, so if I had, if this was my total growing period here, so say I'm going to harvest at 180 days or something for convenience sake here, I'm going to go, half is really easy to find, right? I'll make that line half right there in the middle. And then I go 1/3, which is about, it's about right there, right? It's not, because a quarter would be right there, about 1/3 is somewhere in between there. This is your crossover period in almost every plant. Some plants, like a tomato, go through morning sickness every 2 weeks. Some plants, like beans, go through it 3 times in their entire life cycle. How do you know it's going into morning sickness? In the Korean translation, this is called, this point right here is called yellowing time. you'll notice your plant will get a little weak and a little yellow, and it's stressed out a little bit from that conversion, that transformation that's happening. And so if you start to tune into your plant, start watching your tomato, every 2 weeks it'll start to get a little bit more yellow. And then it'll kind of come back and it'll get a little bit more yellow. What's happening is it's starting to put out different blossoms, starting to fruit, it's going through all these things. It's getting morning sickness. Your plant, it's not vomiting above ground, but it's vomiting beneath the ground. It starts to exudates, and those stress exudates are actually bad for the soil microorganisms. So if you can add that, then it's going to put out good exudates, and it's not going to exude stress signals, and it's going to actually have better life. Proportions, this is just a brief overview. We teach this stuff all the time.
If your tomato plant is putting out little flower, starting to try to form flower buds, is it already past that, or is that a good time when it's just starting? Is it still being stressed?
So when your flowers are emerging, you should have done it 5 days before that.
Oops.
Right, so it doesn't, like, rule zero, do it when you can, right? Always. But then as you start to tune into your plants, the more you start to grow plants. So Master Cho was able to grow corn with 13 to 15 ears of corn on it.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Right, 2 to 3, 4 like is max for commercial corn. He's able to grow corn with 13 of them. Why? Because the plant has no stress during this time. It's going to, instead of getting yellowing because he applied calcium phosphate, water-soluble calcium phosphate, between 1 to 1,000 or 1 to 700, which is going like.
You got another app that does calculations for you, right?
I do. I have a solutions app. I have a solutions app, yeah.
That's good.
It's also an app store. So if you went to my Kahuna app, just look for the other apps I make, and you'll find it. It'll link you right from there. And I have a solutions app, so you can tell which stage you're in and what you can do with these.
Seen that?
No, I've got a little.
But this I would say this was probably the biggest thing that I was learning about for fruit production and how to really get your plant. It's really about this morning sickness. It's really about these scientific transformations. But Master Cho will tell you, don't try to make it about the science because you're dissecting it. It's really about understanding this whole process. Just like this moon thing, it's about understanding this whole cycle and how things are going, and like and looking at them. You know, like okay, it's this shape, and like you really go into these layers of depth that if I just tell you, oh, it's a crescent plant taro, you're gonna miss the fact that it's this shape and that it's, you know, it's waxing and all these other things that as you tune your body in, you'll get these larger pictures. So I'll try to science this up. That's the other big takeaway I took. Another was just sprinkle it.
Can you do this foliar feeding, or is it best through the roots, these water-soluble calcium? I'm going to take a career art class.
Yeah. I mostly tell people go and do it foliarly. That's the way. It's quick. This will be in your plant in a matter of 3 hours. It's the only calcium phosphate that can get into your plant that quick because it's already dissolved and plant soluble and ready and actually water soluble.
So where do you get it?
You make it.
I made it. Yeah, you should. The Plant Aloha class, man. I did this whole thing. Man. Who was there? Who was stoked? Ask any of these people.
So let's say you miss changeover period, you miss that 5 to 7 days. Do you go right into the water-soluble calcium, or do you have a plant that's showing flower and fruit, starting to flower and already having fruit on it? Back and forth each week,
Part of it, yeah. Part of it. And then, I mean, so I gave a basic formula, and I gave it at the class because it's like, shoot, you're new to this, and I gave a basic formula. What I'm talking about here is like advanced formula. It's just to kind of give you a preview of like where we're going, and I really need to embody this and learn it. But it gets even more tuned in to like what you're doing. And the way, so when I gave you the seesaw basic approach, that's awesome. It works. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna do that today.
So any other questions?
IMO and insights. like someone had mentioned it, but different stages of IMO or
Moon cycle,
like,
yeah.
they're all good during the cycle. Ignoring zero.
Yeah, so I believe that when it's coming into your full moon phase after Muhalu or so, right in that space is probably best to like collect IMO.
Okay.
And then I would. So I learned something interesting about making another further IMO, and he said do it when the microbes are least active, which was interesting to me because you don't want to overexcite them. So your collection would make sense during that full moon, but maybe it makes sense to turn it during the Ole days, like, and start your 3 and 4 during the Ole days. I don't know. I have not empirically done that. It's just I'm connecting a few dots right now. So. Cool. Any other questions?
Can you do that again, man?
Super shotgun?
Thank you.
Anything more from your 3 and ship? How long were you there?
I was gone for 9 days. I spent 2 days in Seoul. It was 20 degrees Fahrenheit, -6 Celsius. The wind chill factor that was way more than I could handle. And then we were in Buksong. We went to the Learning Center, which is always good. And then we also looked at a greenhouse. He was able to build a 100-meter by 12-meter greenhouse for like $20,000. It was just unreal good. And the government then pays them back 40%. So, it costs him $7,000 basically, or he has to pay 40% of it, I believe. So it costs him $7,000 to put in this greenhouse. Am I math right? Someone's gonna correct me on that. But yeah, so he's able to build these greenhouses. He will ship them here if we want. And we basically went to class from like 8 in the morning till midnight.
Whoa.
With an 84-year-old guy. He took a nap midday. We were not allowed a nap. So yeah, I learned a whole lot, and I got a whole bunch of my notes, and I'm looking forward to writing that up in a way that is shareable as more like the next level, like an advanced training course. And practicing it myself. And we had a team of about 20 come from Hawaii, and we had about 18 come from Taiwan and China. So there's about 30-something folks, 40 folks. The running joke is, it is worth going just for the food. It is so good. Literally, I flew back like two days ago, and I haven't really eaten since then besides the natural farming potluck, and I'm still full. I also didn't poop the whole time I was there. But that's flowing now,
What does he grow in his greenhouse? What is his specialties? He just tons of different kinds of vegetables?
Chickens, pigs, garlic, bok choys, and the greenhouse he just built, he's going to put fruit trees into. So.
Animals and plants in the greenhouse.
Yeah, he runs 3,000 chickens or something, and like 15 pigs. So, and he has 600,000 quails in this other KFO kind of operation. It's his brother's, it's not his, but he runs it. And again, I would like to encourage you to please join the Farmers Union. Just do it. Don't even ask why. It's really what it's about. It's a legislative thing. Yeah. We need political clout. Our Department of Agriculture has less than 0.5% of the budget. And so we need to legislatively say to people, hey, at least fund our Department of Ag, and so we can do all kinds of good stuff. We want to eat local by 2020 or 2050 to keep kicking the can down the road. Shoot, Join the Farmers Union. You don't even have to show up to meetings. In fact, I encourage you not to. Stay in your garden. It's more work for us as organizers, although we love having you and we're working at farms and we're getting good things. But join your Farmers Union. Do it now because we need it before the end of the year. We get an extra $100 per member that goes to our organization, help us build capacity. We need to hire a executive director, and this would all help us flow. You can join the Puna chapter. I don't even care. They'll be like, why are, like my chapter's not growing. Puna's the fastest growing chapter in the state besides Haleakala, which surpassed them last month. So guys, come on.
Oh yeah.
But join even the Puna chapter.
Yeah.
Like, or if you really want, join the East Hawaii, because it would make me look better. But I will advocate for them. And
East Hawaii is over the whole half of the state?
East Hawaii runs from Pane'ewa-ish, the UH farm, all the way to Whitepeel Valley. So we used to have Puna too in our chapter, but Puna has now anchored here with Steve as president, and he's doing an awesome job. They got all kinds of good things growing. But joining it, because we need we need numbers more than anything and this is political. Like, you don't want to get in politics anyway. You just want to know your farmers are doing the right thing. And we have advocated for tiny homes. We've advocated for industrial hemp. We advocated for a bunch of grants to help exploratory things. But really, we need critical mass in numbers. We're gaining relationships with politicians. We have Tulsi Gabbard, Mike Gabbard, Russell Ruderman, Richard Cregan,
Cindy Evans,
Joy Benaventura. All these folks are like saying, wow, this is cool. We want to see our two things are regenerative agriculture, however you define that, I don't care, and family farms, however you define that, I don't care if they're related to you or whatever. Those two things I think everyone can get behind. We need to regenerate our soil, and we need to restore our family units. If you can agree with that, jump on. And if you're interested in more Korean natural farming, we meet every month on the second Tuesday. It's at the Aupuni Center, which is right where you go to pay your vehicle tax. It's right by the DMV. Right across Bank of Hawaii and American Savings Bank.
What time?
6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second Tuesday.
And those are some of your best resources. It's not only about like me saying some stuff and being up there. It's about the relationships you make in the crowd, because working together, getting to know each other, someone always has something cool to say. Every time I go, I learn. Every time I go, I'm just so thankful because I eat this great food that people are producing here with these local, regenerative, awesome methods, and it fires me up to keep me going. I mean, I'd be doing it anyway, but it's nice when people show up too and get to know each other, because we're all capable, right? And now we understand the moon cycle, so we can be on time.
Plant on time.
Thank you, Steve, for hosting. I love this program. Thank you.
Bro, when you make your JL app, like your